All right. Let's start off with just some of our housekeeping. We have a little rearrangement, so let's just go over this real quick. All right, so I got this nice little faded spot, which means what? It means it's past. All right, so those of you that missed the cinematic relation workshop, you're gonna have to wait probably a year before we do that again. Um, and It was fantastic. Cinematic Slackline is still up for June. We have one spot left, and that's going to get certainly filled soon. Um, Cinematic Exploration, we have moved that to July instead of next weekend. Give people some more time to plan that. Cinematic Life Map, we're doing a 2 weekend workshop with that, August 9th, 10th, and 16th, 17th. And then our 10-day retreat. This is a residential in-person, very high level retreat. So here we go. With that out of the way, we have a new person. Hi, Fred.
Hello.
All right. Anybody have anything they'd like to ask about? If so, we can go into some Q&A. If not, I can read from the book and pick a topic.
I have a question about if you could explain how the truth needs no defense. I feel like I've wrapped my head around that before, but then I lose it.
Would you
Uh,
lose your head?
yeah, I lose the ability to see it because like let's say someone's coming at me with a distorted view of something. I'm not just going to I'm going to defend my view, but I feel like my view is the truth. But if I'm defending, I just get
Mhm.
confused.
Good. Why do you feel the need to defend the truth?
Um,
Let me ask you this. Is it your truth or is it the truth?
hmm.
Let me share a little bit about this. Maybe it'll be helpful. Let's explore this. The difference between my truth and the truth. Well, how many truths can there be? Right? If my truth is that you're a mean bad person, and your truth is that you're a happy nice person, we can do the most um, how do I say this? Uh, and I don't have a word that isn't a judgment, but we can do something like say, well, let's agree to disagree. It's just a very low level way of addressing anything. It basically means I'm not changing my mind, um, and you're not changing your mind, and so we're just going to throw a tantrum. Um, so let's explore even deeper. My truth versus the truth. When I hear somebody say, well, this is my truth, what I'm actually hearing is, this is how I feel about it. This is how I'm perceiving it. And no matter what evidence you present me, this is what I know to be true for me. in a simple way, when I hear somebody say, well, this is my truth, I hear somebody um, that's attached to defending their experience and is protecting it and is threatened by an objective truth. Now, there is a way to hold both a subjective experience and perception as that person's experienced reality and an objective reality at the same time. So, what that would look like is most of, well, all of you here have worked with me. So, you've all had the experience, or likely have had the experience, of doing some of the work, and you come up against something you experienced, a trauma, a memory, whatever it is, a belief you have about stuff, something you just like, this is what happened. And then through a session or through a few sessions, you dive into it and you face it and you heal it and you come out the other side and say, oh my, that's not what I thought it was. Oh, so it is true that you experienced that way. It is true that you experienced what happened that way. So it was true for you. However, objectively, something else happened. And or from a higher aperture, as we talked about, I think yesterday on the fellowship. Yeah. A high, a lot has happened. A bigger aperture, a higher order of truth, of reality, of, okay, yes, I see that this thing happened, but only looking at it that this small, would it stay true? If you expand the context, something else is true. And we've all had this experience in life. It's like, let's say you're watching the stocks, and at 1 second you watch it and you see the down arrow, the red down arrow, and you say, shit, this stock's doing bad. But if you take it over 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, the graph is going like this. And so you would see in that greater context, it's actually going up. But in that small, tiny one little piece of data you had, it pointed down. But in all of the data, it pointed up. So it is true that in that micro data, it went down, but it is not true that overall it was going down. And so what happens is that many people that are operating at sort of that lower level of awareness, they're going to hold on to that. They're going to protect that. And then oftentimes people that use that language have experienced, let's say, people that have invalidated them. They haven't been believed. They haven't been listened to. Um, Something has happened in their life where they don't feel that what their experience has been is valid. And so it becomes a protection to protect um, what they know their experience was. You then can see a pattern in people that have a victim mentality really run this thing. Well, this is my experience. And so you can have your experience. You can perceive it that way you want. You can think I'm however you want, but I know. But, or another example could be the identification. Oh, no, no, no. The doctor said it's not curable. The doctor said they don't know what causes it. The doctor says there's no cure for my illness. How dare you? I've experienced this pain. How dare you tell me what's possible? I know that this is incurable. And they fight for that limitation because they've identified to it and for other reasons. How dare you invalidate my truth? You don't know how much suffering I've been in. Right. And so, in those instances, if I were to be talking with that person, I would say, it is not an invalidation of your experience, but the filters in which you've perceived that experience are distorted, thus making what you beyond what you perceived, not what you thought it was. And so if you have massive distortions in your filters, right? If it's really late at night, you look up and you think you see a bad guy, you turn the lights on and it was just your coat hanging in the corner. It's always been just a coat in the corner. Let's try to say that one. Make a song out of that, Hannah. Coat in the corner. Fred. Oh yeah. Oh. All right. It's always been a coat in the corner, but your body had the lived experience of the fear, of the fright, of the adrenaline, of perceiving it as a threat, as a bad guy. And so most people stop there. They never turn on the light. They just say, "This is my truth. I felt this fear." Yes, you did. Yes, you absolutely did have that experience. And wouldn't you like to know if that was based on reality or an illusion? And a lot of people don't want to know that because if they start turning on the lights, illumination, enlightenment, right? Shining light, bringing light to these things. Um, they're what's going to happen is that they open Pandora's box, or as we call it, a can of worms. Oh, well, if I misperceive that and that and that and that and that, no, 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 they can't be. No, no, no. Ah! I actually going into that terror. It's terrifying. This is what Hannah's going through. It forces you. You start questioning things, everything, and your entire worldview could potentially collapse. Your entire paradigm of perceiving reality could dissolve. Um, and that, folks, is what we call awakening. Most people nowadays just thinks it's crystals and chakras and things like that. Um, this is also the death card, the devil card, the tower card, and the tarot. These are things that those play into this dynamic. So there's a lot to your question. Um, Let me say this again. I misspoke. There's a lot to the answer to your question. All of these components I have experienced, I have within me as I hear this coming through. So people oftentimes are like, man, you sure talk a lot when you answer these really simple questions. But you need to understand that I'm not just answering your question so you can check a box. I'm trying to convey the depth of wisdom and hand that over to you so you can see and learn how to think, how to perceive in a new way rather than just what to perceive and what the answer is. So I'm offering all of the stuff behind the scenes, well, a lot of it, as I answer these seemingly simple questions. So you can now, instead of just having an answer, you have 10 new resources to perceive reality, 10 new tools that you can interface with the world. kind of as a side note of if everybody wants to know why my answers are oftentimes long. And for other things, people ask really complicated questions, and I'm like, yes, because it's all relative. It all depends on the feeling. So my truth, the truth. So this whole process of what we want to do is to illuminate the shadows, the distortions, so we can perceive reality as accurately as possible. And at the same time, a lot of people have the fear of that, of saying, all right, well, then if everybody just sees objective truth as objective truth, this is going to be a really fucking boring, dull world um, because everybody sees things the same. No, I did not see, I've never said you must see it the same way as I do. So you have to see it accurately. We all, as a diamond, right, the facets and fractals of a diamond, the fractals of a pattern. When white light shines through a prism, it goes out into all of the spectrum of color. It's the same thing. We are all the spectra of color looking in from all those frequencies and all those directions into the same thing. All those lights are, let's say, looking at that prism. As long as we all say and see, yes, this is a prism, instead of this is, I don't know, a wallet. I'm looking around for an object that I haven't used before, a wallet. We're, we're perceiving it through our unique aperture of consciousness. We are all a unique aperture of the universe. This is essentially the basis of real astrology, is that the moment of which we are born in the place in which we are born represents the entire universe at that time and space moment. And so we are literally the universe perceiving itself because it's contained within itself. It is itself inside of itself from that perspective of you, because you are the universe at that time and space moment. You represent the universe from that time and space moment. And you're going to perceive the world from that. And so over time, people have noticed patterns and, certain things like that. So when you and I both look at a flower, we're going to have a different response. We're going to see things. There's so much to see. And through our aperture and the infinite amount of reality, there is no concern things will ever get dull and boring, because it's not about seeing it the same. It's about being able to accurately perceive an objective reality, and through each of our own individual unique um, facets, we all get to then see it from everybody else's perspective. So I get to see myself through all your perspectives. You get to see yourself through all of our perspectives. It's this holographic nature of reality. And, excuse me, the distortions, the traumas, the suffering, the agendas, the narcissistic images, all the stuff that we talk about, on one hand, all of that gets in the way of perceiving things accurately, which creates tremendous suffering. And so by healing that and removing it, however you want to call it, subtracting it, we reduce suffering because we can see things for how they are. That's enlightenment. That's what it is, to perceive reality for how it is. And there's orders of reality, which is a different topic, but it includes that. Then on the other hand, everything serves even what doesn't. So all of those distortions are there to teach us something. Those distortions arose out of us for a reason. And then when we address them and they heal, the learning and the lesson of our hero's journey is in its place. And that's what you're doing in this work. That's why we can focus so much on healing, and simultaneously you end up becoming more functional and wise in life versus cramming all information from 1,000 books into your head. So, my truth versus the truth. What are you hearing?
I feel that I've actually through this work have become a lot less defensive. So I know it's working. And I know that I had a lot of distortions and filters and stuff running. Um,
So take what I've heard, because I haven't handed you the answer. I've given you all of the resources for you to answer it yourself. So take everything I just said, mush it around, play with it a little bit, and go back to your original question of defending my truth. Is it my truth that I'm defending, or is it the truth I'm defending? Are you defending something that you feel identified to?
I think that could be.
Okay.
Um,
Do you feel protective of it? Does it feel um, delicate? Does it feel um, there's a certain sense of,
Part of it might just be that I want to be right, you know?
okay,
Yeah,
why do you want to be right?
because I feel like I'm always wrong.
Okay, all right, yeah. So
Yeah.
that, that tells us why you're defending it.
Mhm. Wow.
But we learned a lot along the way. It was a wonderful journey.
Oh man.
But you also see how much more useful it is for me to share all of that stuff rather than just give you that answer for yourself that really doesn't do much for anyone else.
Right.
It's kind of more of what we're doing on this Awaken call versus your therapy session.
And I feel like as osmotically as all of this stuff permeates me, when I'm writing, sometimes it's like, where did this I'm at choice? Or, it just pops in my head. I'm like, wow, it's starting to come out and, exhibit itself through me, or I'm able to just
Yeah.
feel it. I don't know. I'm not, it pops in my head and that's new.
Well, this
So,
is this is part of what you were asking about. The truth doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to everybody.
mm,
This is the one voice. So when I say be at choice, and you can feel that penetrate you, and then you're speaking and you're writing and you say, yeah, be at choice. And it feels the same way. That's the one voice coming through. What happens is we really like to, I think I was with the rune today, we were playing with this. The ego really likes to take credit. I was doing an exercise with him where it was like, this is the size of my container. Like, all right, well, let's make it bigger. All right, cool. All right, I can have a bigger container. Oh, yeah, look how big this is. Makes a lot of sense until you can't see it. It's all right. Imagine it. Have a session with me. um, what I'm doing here is I'm fully extending it, but my hands are straight. So it's out here like this rather than cupped in. Rather than cupped in to create this container, there's no container. And as I did this, it just felt absolutely infinite. But what happened is that I no longer had control. I no longer could take credit for it. And so it was very revealing, both for me personally, but also in the nature of these things of wow, the need to take credit and control and own in a owny way, not as in a responsibility ownership way. Just it transitions it. How do I say this? It goes into a lower dimension. So it goes like from 4D into 3D kind of thing. Not weird metaphysics, but just as an example, it leaves the realm of the infinite, right? It leaves the realm of me being a transducer that can move things through me infinitely into a into a measurable container, into a defined. So it's coming from undifferentiated, unlimited potential into differentiated container. Now, there are instances in where that's useful, like this, right? It's not good or bad, right or wrong, but just that feeling of being straight out versus starting to slightly curve in, I can feel that difference. Now, what happens is if there's what you're saying in it, this, well, I just want to be right because I've spent so long being wrong, that starts caving in, right? It's like me, my rightness, my ideas, my truths.
Mhm.
You're not going to make me wrong anymore. Look how right I am now. Right. So it starts to do that rather than being this infinite voice, rather than being the voice of God, rather than being the Holy Spirit, or whatever you want to call this truth coming through you. And so that's why you feel the need to defend it. If it was the one voice, if it was just, an, how do I say that, unclaimed and un, I don't know, an unowned personified statement, um, it's not that. When it becomes that, then you can identify to it and protect it. If it's just that's the right, look at Hannah's screen. That's the sky in the background, and those are trees. If someone says, no, they're not, or they said, yeah, those are trees, guys, this is the sky. Don't even fucking question it. It's the sky. How it's like, whoa, why do you feel the need to be that intense about something that is true already?
Mm,
It's why the truth requires no defense. Why do you need to protect the sky being the sky?
mm,
It doesn't need your protection. It's going to be the sky as forever. That sky may cease to exist when the planet explodes, but it's still the sky. If you have doubt, if you have insecurities, that's when you really want to start defending. Right? I could call you a mean name, right? I could call you, let's say, I don't know, am I gonna get in so much trouble for this? But for example, if I called you an obese purple midget, how hurt do you feel? I feel hurt saying it.
yeah, I can't relate to it. So.
Yeah. So it's hard to say this without it actually hurting. But if I said something like, um, uh, you,
Something close to the truth.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything I try to say actually feels like it would hurt. But let's say like you scrawny, redheaded, whatever, right? You'd be like, oh,
Yeah. It hits more than,
yeah,
yeah.
right?
It's,
Yeah. So you're like,
yeah.
no, I'm not. No, I've been working at the gym. It's not real redhead. It's strawberry blonde. Or, but the other one, right? You just had nothing. There was, you didn't need to defend anything. You didn't do anything.
Right.
So when you find yourself being defensive, right? You see that?
Yes.
Find yourself wanting to get defensive. It's showing you what?
That it's close to the truth.
Well,
Or it could be the truth. It probably is the truth.
That you're taking it personally.
yeah, you're taking it personal. The truth requires no defense. So if you're defending it, it must mean what?
It's the truth.
No, it's not the truth. No, see, it's not the truth.
If you're defending it, if the truth doesn't require any defense, and if you're defending something, it cannot be the truth because the
Oh,
truth
right.
doesn't actually require the defense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just get scrambled with it. It
Hmm.
just why it scrambles me.
Well, why does it scramble you? So the truth requires no defense. Okay. So it works in multiple directions. That's probably why it scrambles you, because it works in multiple directions. The truth requires no defense. So when you're speaking the truth, you don't need to defend it. It doesn't need your defending. It's impervious to attack. It can't be attacked, right? Somebody calling the sun horse poop, it does nothing with it. It doesn't. It's not attacked. It doesn't affect it. You can scream horse poop up at the sky for a billion years, and it's just nothing, right? So when you speak the truth, you don't need to defend it. If you find yourself defending it, what you're defending can't be the truth. If anything, it's your idea of the truth, your
Mhm.
perception of the truth.
Yeah.
If you say, well, the sun is a wonderful, loving being of light, and someone says, no, it's not, it's gases exploding in space. No, it's not. Well, you're not defending the truth anymore. You're defending your idea of the truth. And so is the person if they say, well, no, it's just this. So it gets a little tricky because the truth itself can't be defended, but you can have your perception of the truth that you then feel is under attack that you want to defend, but it's no longer the truth. It's your perception of the truth. It isn't bad, it isn't wrong. It's just so likewise, if you find yourself defending something, you can look at it in both directions as well. It either means what the person is saying is an attack and not the truth, or what you're feeling inside of you isn't true. So if I give feedback to somebody and I say, this is narcissistic, and they get defensive, well, I know because of the basis of this work that they're defending an image of themselves that isn't true.
Mhm.
Now, out in the normal world or in the fellowship and the group work, you have to look at both sides, right? Where you say, oh, is this person actually attacking me? Or say, you narcissist little piece of poopy doody doody doody, whatever, right? That person's probably attacking you. So it's not necessarily the information. It's that stuff.
So Andrew,
It becomes layered.
So when we say, just say, we're standing for the truth, and there's a lot of distortion of the truth that's going on in the world right now. How do we stand for the truth? Like that, like, when, do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
in the world, yeah.
Well, so for example, when somebody says there's 82 genders, do you get scared and defensive, or do you go, okay? There's the feeling element. Do you feel defensive, or do you say that's nonsense? I'm not getting defensive. I'm not defending anything. It's just like, well, boys and girls, potential edge, outlier cases. Okay, but pretty much boys and girls. So I don't need to go around and argue. So I'm gonna go and live my life and say this is this. And then we talk about the weird shit that comes in is, well, my truth. Well, I experience gender. Well, you can experience gender however the fuck you want. It doesn't change the fact that boys and girls. You can do it in a respectful way, and I can respect you, and God bless. You can do it in a destructive way that I won't tolerate and let you do. But at that moment, let's say those things happen, you can stand for a principle, but what's happening, for example, is that, let's say in this example that is going to, for some reason, is so triggering that there's boys and girls, like it's just the greatest shit ever. Uh, but what happens is that even if you, let's say, fight for that or whatever it is, and you go to meetings, or you show up in the world for that, what you're really doing isn't getting defensive. What you're doing isn't defending the principle. What you're doing is probably protecting your children. So whether or not I have a discussion with anybody else, whether or not I get defensive, whether or not I scream up in arms, the truth is going to stay the truth. Now, what are the consequences of the distortions is a different conversation. The consequences of believing certain things and fighting for those beliefs versus orienting towards the truth, the consequences of all of that has created much pain and suffering through the world. Inquisitions, the Crusades, things like this. People that fought and defended their truth by murdering millions of people. If your truth was that true, you probably wouldn't need to go around murdering all those people. It would stand on its own. That's kind of a great analogy, parallel, that I imagine brings it together for a lot of people in a practical way. So you can protect your family from being abused and hurt and killed, murdered, raped, stolen from, without you getting defensive. When I'm protecting myself, I'm not getting defensive. I'm actually just defending myself from physical attack. You can even go in a spiritual way that I am not my I am not my body alone. I don't like to say I am not my body because that's created a lot of dissociation in a lot of spiritual teachings. So I like to make sure people say I am not only a physical body. because I have a lot of work to do to help people say, no, you are your body too. It's still you. You know, uh, pretending like you're not your body makes you live up there and become dissociated and disembodied, and that doesn't work. Um, so from a spiritual understanding, knowing that I am not just my body, and you may destroy my flesh, but you do not threaten my eternal true self. That takes this on a more spiritual, metaphysical direction, which kind of could play in a little bit to our session today about being Jesus. Is this making sense to folks, Elaine?
Yes, I was. That was an interesting question, Darun, about the world right now and how it is. And I see how stating the truth and, there are just two genders, but it, aren't you going to have, the other side saying this to you,
Mhm.
and so you
Yeah.
just do nothing? You just
Well, you get to do what you want to do.
do what you want to do.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, you want to throw a
But I
fit, you can throw a fit. I mean, I'm not going to throw a fit.
but if you had to defend that there are just two, then
Why
you're
do you have to defend that?
because the other side's saying no, there's not. There's
So
80.
what? I could call you a poo-poo head purple obese midget. Do you really want to spend the next 30 minutes or 5 hours or 10 months arguing with me and protecting yourself and trying to convince me that you're really not that?
So to Elaine's point, like like they're trying to like when you're changing policies, when you're impacting all of that, like how do
That's
you
different.
exist in that?
That's a dialogue, right? That's the democracy. That's the game we're playing. And so
Right,
you can defend your point in the it's like you guys are might take it way too literally without the context. If you're in a debate, the whole fucking point of is that's the game. If
right.
you're playing sports, you have offense and defense. I'm not going to say, oh, all right, now the spiritual truth is never defend yourself. Right? Don't be defensive. Let people murder you and beat you and not have a goalie and not. No, that's not what it's about. It's
Contextual.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all games. Those have rules.
Right.
Yeah, this is about
We're
not.
conflating everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
There's great word. Yeah, it's just very getting very conflated. Yeah. But back to Elaine, your point is the truth requires no defense. So you know you're not a purple obese midget. So why do you feel the need to defend? If you feel the need to defend, it tells us that there's something inside of yourself that you're defending. And whatever that thing you're defending is untrue. So if I say, well, you're an insecure loser, and you're like, no, I'm not. Well, there's a part of you that has an image that either thinks you're not or thinks you are, and you're defending that. And it can go both ways. You're neither. Sorry. Yeah. Because it's an image. It's not your true self. It's not who you really are. You're not a loser or you're also not a loser. And defending either of those is going to keep you stuck in that paradigm of kind of what Hannah's going through. You're like nice girl, good girl, being right, being good. It's not about either of those. You get
It's
so
so
busy
interesting.
you get so busy defending the image that you're good or that you're bad. Bad, right? Like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. Nobody loves me. Right? It goes either way. but it's not true. Whatever you're defending isn't true. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like so interesting you mentioned that. Like, we and Elaine, I think you alluded to this at the start. Like, when someone calls you something or says something, you're trying to defend it. We we got we got sucked into the trap without knowing the trap because we're like, okay, um, there are two genders, and then we just automatically take the opposing side, and we don't realize that got sucked into that game without really realizing, as opposed to taking the middle ground. Like it doesn't, it it's an emotive.
Well, it's not the
Um,
middle, it's not the middle ground.
it's the it's
You have the
right. No,
stance, right?
yeah,
She has made her choice.
right.
Now this gets fishy, right? Things start getting murky because people have beliefs about these things. And as soon as you start defending your beliefs, you're in trouble
Mm,
because you're probably going to attack other people's beliefs. And nobody's seeking for the objective truth. People are defending their belief systems.
right.
Again, hence many, many religious wars and all of this stuff. Things get real messy real quick.
But underneath it all is just if it's evoking something which you know it's done to hook into some of those beliefs.
Yeah, or hook into something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, right? When you had your experience, where we're not going to share this on the public call, but you talked about yesterday of how you showed up for your wife when, they found whatever that was out. And so you let yourself express what was in there. Well, that expression was a true expression of yourself. People get so caught up in the the moral tug of war, that they get so fixated on, well, is it this or that? They completely ignore all this other stuff that's happening in the process. I'm far more interested in the the intimacy and breakthrough in leadership that occurred when you did that than debating whether or not he was a piece of shit and if that's okay or not. It's just not interesting to me. It's just not the game I value. I'm much more interested in, the awakening, the intimacy, the connection, the growth, the um, greater awareness than fucking bickering about things that are self-evident. It's when we start giving real
Hmm.
topics like this that are like super trigger world topics, religions, apparently genders, um, it, it, people just get so worked up about it. Um, and it just reveals a lot of this stuff. It reveals that um, what people are talking about isn't actually the truth with a capital T. And so if you just switch your orientation towards truth with a capital T, it's things get a lot easier. You don't need to debate it. I have hair on my head now. What if I was a bald person or balding person? Well, I'd be insecure about, right? There would be that stuff. And then the person would be defensive about the hair on their head, all this stuff. But for me, I just have hair on my head. It's just is. Now you can go in multiple dimensions of zooming in. This is Newtonian physics versus quantum physics. When you go into quantum physics, a lot of the Newtonian laws of physics just completely go out the window. So Those things matter. What may be true at this scale ceases to be. But this scale must incorporate this truth here and explain it. So when we went from the sun revolves around the earth to no, the earth revolves around the sun, science had to explain not only the earth revolving around the sun, but it had to also explain why on earth we perceived it that way, rather than just say, no, it's not. That's wrong. Does that make sense? So when you go from this small level of awareness where one thing is true to a larger one where it's no longer true, that larger aperture and perspective must solve that discrepancy. Otherwise, you have major conflict. And those are things that in the world, when people do that, we have big problems.
But what if you've got things like on either side that prove either side is the truth? Like facts research and all that shenanigans.
Research is not proof.
What would you say that like
But that's part of the problem. People think that all of that is truth. Truth is not facts. Any moment, a new piece of data can come in and change the facts. So people that hang on to facts as their orientation towards the truth are extremely volatile. It's just so in this work, what we're taking is more of an embodied knowing rather than belief and facts and figures and dissertations and thesis and hypothesis and all that stuff. When somebody is in front of me moving in their body, I don't need to do any of that stuff. I just feel them and I know exactly what's happening. Now they can defend and present all this stuff all they want, but so can I. I can show them a video of their body and tell them exactly what it is. And so people can play games, right? They can try to do all this shit, but with me in particular, as I think someone said the other day, good luck. Because guess what I have on my side? The truth. I have feeling. I have embodiment. I have the video. I have what I have on my side. It's not my side. We all have that. It's just, can you see it? So what I would say to what you asked is, I don't care. That's not a game that I want to play because you can play that forever. But a direct experience, it's just, you can't play that game with a direct experience. It's a different game. You can't, how do you convey it? You say, I made love. Well, what did that feel like? You don't know until you do it.
but then that comes back to everyone's experiencing stuff through their own lenses and the subjective lenses. So everyone will have a different experience.
Yeah, exactly. But what happened is what happened. Two people can go to this exact same show and one say that was amazing, and one say that's awful. It's the exact same show. Both people can enjoy or hate the show all they want, and that's their experience. Doesn't make that the true experience of what happened. What happened is just what happened. Those are all their judgments. It's a judgment. A judgment isn't truth. It's a true judgment they have, and that's how they see it. But that can change. Every day I work with clients where they think one thing is one thing, and then they go into it and they heal it, and they say, "Oh wow, what a beautiful experience that violation was that taught me so much and allowed me to access greater strength." Or so those perceptions can change. And even in those perceptions, as they change, it's the same thing as I talked about the physics. That greater level of perception has to also account for that lesser perception. Oh, I understand why I thought that was an awful experience because I was so insecure. I was in a lot of pain. Now I perceive it differently because of this. It still accounts for that distortion. Um, so there's a difference between what I see you doing. You're trying to solve something, and what I'm offering is peace. So it's just a different. It, what what I'm offering is a different answer to a different question. So it'll be unsatisfactory to that because there's a reason why those arguments have gone on for thousands of years. I've had a direct experience. I've had direct mystical experiences. So that's my experience. That's what it is.
So rather go into that like conflict kind of um, conflict mixed with conflict, conflict meets conflict, then just kind of stand in your own, not in your own truth, stand in the truth,
Well,
and whatever comes your way, and just like, well, no, I'm just standing in the truth rather than conflict meets
well,
conflict.
but then you also have to ask why is something coming your way? Where are you standing that's coming your way? I don't
Things are
surround
going to come in
myself,
your way anyway, aren't they?
huh?
Things are always going to come your way anyway, aren't they?
I guess. I mean, you could stand in the middle of the highway and get hit by a truck, or you could stand in a park and not. Where do you want to stand? You know?
Yeah.
The other question that I would ask would be about um and not a question, well, sort of an inquiry, is that oftentimes what happens is people have internal conflicts that they project out onto the world. So most people that are doing these things that are in external conflicts have an internal conflict. Most people that are trying to change the world into their benevolent image are, as I say in the book, people that have yet to resolve that within themselves, and so they feel the need to resolve it externally into the world. I mean, you can think whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. I only start caring until it starts causing harm or invalidates or it starts becoming a detriment to the to my space, at least, and the people around us. But that's more of what Darun was talking about standing for something versus getting defensive and conflict and argument and all that kind of stuff. I have no interest of going to um, Palestine and trying to get everybody to get along. It's just it seems like those people just want to play that game for a long time. Um, Let them until they start becoming a danger to me. It's kind of how I would see it. And then there's, people that just won't stop. And sometimes the games that they're playing are incompatible with the game that we're playing. And so then we have conflict. And that's where it's not about being defensive. It's about stopping things that are going to destroy you. As you can see here, it's a basic concept, but the implications are in so many scales and levels and dimensions, and it's a very complex. It can be a very complex topic depending on how you want to apply it. But for me, I'm more interested in helping the people in front of me rather than solving world conflicts. It starts with this. All those world conflicts start with people. Starts with their pain, their suffering, their healing, their trauma. There's so many generational trauma, cultural trauma. So for me, I'm biased. I'm only biased because this is how I've taken it, but I have seen that healing this stuff is just it's the most useful thing. Is figuring out why these people want to be in conflict. Well, why do you want to be in conflict? And going from there and looking at what's under the surface. It gets messy. That's life. That's multiculturalism. That's a global economy. Some values clash. And when they clash, conflict happens. That's part of it. The work isn't about eliminating conflict. It's about resolving it when it happens. You know, there's conflict that occurs when your tire hits the road. It's a conflict. The friction, the movement, the rubber, molecules, they start burning off. That's how it's resolved. You lose tread on your tire. That's how the conflict between your tires and the road, asphalt, resolves itself. Tell that to your mechanic. Anybody else? Fred, Hannah? Nope. All right. Well, thanks for the questions. It was a fun exploration.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna watch this again and go into it. And
Are you leaving with any clarity or more confusion?
um, I feel I feel some on some level clarity, and then there's just so much around it. And I think I've read some of that in your book or heard you say it before. So I'm hoping it'll all sink in at some point.
Yeah, my invitation is just feel.
Okay.
Just feel. Just what comes up. You want to defend, you want to be right. Great. Well, look at that. Heal that. You just keep doing that until you don't care if you're right or wrong. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I just care that we're not agreeing about something that's completely not true. Doesn't matter if it's mine or yours. You know, that's kind of what this is, right? When I did this, it's like there's no needing to associate it. But you feel if you need to do that, right? It's because, oh, I am always wrong. Oh. Well, that's a story. You're not oriented towards the truth. You're oriented towards fairness. But it's a distorted idea of fairness. And what does it mean to be fair? Right? And you feel into that and explore that. But it's certainly not about the truth.
And I don't have a tally mark of fairness. I mean, that would be impossible. So yeah, it's just distortions.
Yeah, what does it mean for every time I get to have a truth, you get to have a truth? I mean, it doesn't mean anything. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's just such a lame game to be caught up in. It's just, you know, your aperture is this small. No, no, no. My turn to be right. No, your turn. No, my, you know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
silly.
mean, when you see it, it sounds when you say it that way, it sounds pretty ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's competition, right? It's a form of competing. So this is one of the reasons why we have the fellowship and the group work. So you can have 3, 5, 10, 20 people looking at the video, the movement, the body, somebody, and you get enough reference points by enough of them. You got, all right, well, 8 to 10 of these people see this way. And then these 2 other people see it that way. Well, we know what stories run those 2 people, so it makes sense why those 2 people would see it that way, right? They're both codependent and want to be rescued. Right. Okay. That gives you a really, really, really solid, accurate way to orient towards the truth. It's just like any statistics. The more data you have, the more meaningful those statistics are. If you ask 2 people who's a better president, you either have 50% or 100%. If you ask a million people who's a better president, you're going to have a much more meaningful political bias, I guess. That's not really a good example, but from a statistics point of view, you get the idea, the amount of data points. And then you have the video. The video is just so great because you don't have to care about me. I could be the biggest asshole. I could be the biggest piece of whatever. Doesn't matter. That's what the video. Look at the video. It does not lie. It is unbiased. It is 100% objective truth. How you perceive the video through your own lenses and filters and distortions are going to change your experience of it. But the video and the movement and the body is still what it is. You'll be amazed. We're going to do our call. We're going to go look back at that first session, and you're going to see, oh my God, that's what that was. You're going to be able to see things now that you couldn't have seen a year ago. It's the same call. It's the same objective experience, but you're going to perceive it completely differently because of all that you've subtracted and healed.
So amazing. Oh my gosh. Mm.
All right. Anybody else?
No,
Nope.
thank you, Elaine, for asking that question.
Did you learn
You're
anything?
welcome.
Yeah.
What'd you learn?
Um, I learned that I still struggle with that piece too of wanting, when I want to defend, I was just kind of exploring what was going on for me. Like if I feel someone is saying something about me that is not true or is not the truth, and I still feel like a defensiveness to it. So I think there was a element of ego, of not wanting to be perceived in that way. Um, so attachment to image. And then also like if there's a judgment of what is being said to me or about me, if I have a judgment of that thing as being bad, and then I don't want to be bad. So again, back to kind of image and perception. Um, yeah.
How do you know when somebody says something that isn't true? If you feel defensive.
Well, things that I feel are not true.
Like immediately went into your head, left your body to say that.
I was just thinking about like maybe like political exchanges I've been in the past, and someone has labeled me as something um, that I know that I'm not. And I did not feel very much like I could just be okay. I felt extremely defensive. And so I was just kind of thinking
Were
of
they were they
situations
were
like
they
that.
attacking you, or were they telling you the truth?
Um, they were attacking me, but to
Hmm.
them it was the truth. Yeah.
Well, then they're full of shit, because when you're attacking somebody, you should know that's not the truth, that you're attacking somebody. So you see how many layers there can be with this stuff. You have to be willing to feel and sort all of that out. It's like, well, if you feel defensive because they're attacking you, well, that makes sense. Well, so that all that statement then means is that what they're telling you isn't the truth. They're attacking you.
Mm.
Okay. Well, then you can work on being defensive about it or not. But that real statement is just about discerning the truth. And if it's not the truth, then you have nothing to worry about. If it's the truth, you don't have anything to worry about because that's the truth. Something to ponder all week. Right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the great questions.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a lovely week.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thanks, Fred. Thanks, Joe. Thanks,
See
Elaine.
ya.
Thanks,
Thank
Hannah.
you.